Hello, how's it going? It's me, Amanda Gold, and I do that life coaching business that is called Kick Ass with Both Feet. And yes, I'm available for one-on-one coaching if you want to know more. If you want to set up a free discovery session, if you just want to talk to me and be like, what's up with your coaching? Can you help me? Do we like each other? We actually don't even have to like each other for it to be a good fit for coaching and coachee, but it would help to like each other. Anyways, if you want to know more, if you need some coaching in your life, or if you just have questions, please reach out to me at amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com. I would totally love to hear from you about coaching or about these videos. If you have ideas, suggestions, questions, any and all of that shit is welcome. Please bring it. All right. So it's Thursday. I did used to do a video every Thursday, but this is not that. I've stopped doing my Thursday thoughts to work on other materials, so stay tuned about that stuff. But this is a pre-recording for Saturday, and I am aware that there's ways to schedule posts so that this actually drops on Saturday, but I'm just going to let it loose today. So enjoy. This is your early Saturday video. And on Saturdays, as you may or may not know, I choose a theme for the month, and then I coach around that, or I talk about it and I share some things that will hopefully be helpful around that topic. And they're not just random topics. They have to do with things that I think are important, or like guiding values that I use in my life, or things that I've used to change my mindset and my attitude, and things that have improved my life in some way. And I try to pick things that like we might get confused about or need some clarity around. Also, it's worth saying, like, primarily I work with women who are in recovery and who are creative and just want to take their life, their recovery kind of to the next level. Like, we've been through hell and back. We've done the deal. We're kicking ass, but not quite with both feet. Like, we're just sort of like, there's got to be more, right? So if you're someone who's thinking that, that's a lot of the coaching I do. So definitely shoot me that email. Once again, it's amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com. Anyways, so for the happy July, it's July 2nd as I record this. New month, 2020. And I was thinking about the topic, and it's interesting. I decided to go to the tarot deck to help me narrow it down, because I had a few topics in mind, and I thought, what the hell? Like, I've already shared that I've started incorporating the tarot into my coaching sessions, which has been amazing. Another reason to get with me, because we're having so much fun doing that and really getting deep with some stuff kind of right away. It's awesome. It's like this doorway into what's really going on with someone. It's so effective, and it's been really heartwarming and impactful and sacred and beautiful and all these great things. So I figured, I use the tarot for a lot of things in my life. And so I went to it and I drew the Five of Wands, which is about competition. And then it's not just about competition. Fives are about communication, and the wands are about energy and the spark of life and fire and action. And so I was kind of thinking about that, like, which is interesting for me because starting a business and being a person with access to social media and just growing up in this culture, I'm in the West, the US, we're kind of built, we've been raised and saturated in this idea of competition. Like, there's this need to compete, there's this need to compare. It's just kind of like a constant struggle. And that's kind of what the Five of Wands is about too. It's about the struggle. And I read it as an internal struggle a lot too, which I thought was interesting. And then I drew from this beautiful oracle deck that I have called the Creativity Oracle by Monty Farber and his wife, and I should know her name and I'm forgetting. She does the visuals. So there's this beautiful piece, and then on the other side, Monty talks about a message, and this one's about courage. So I'm just kind of being transparent about the process of how I came up with July's theme. But basically, I was thinking about competition, collaboration, communication, and comparison. And then all of that kind of fitting under the grand theme of courage. So stay with me. I'll talk about this more. Also, I love alliteration. So all these things start with C. That's rad. That's fun. Let's do it. And I was looking at the month, and there are 4 Saturdays in this month. So I can talk about courage as it relates to getting out of the competition mindset, using courage to move more into a collaborative mindset, which I think is like the antidote to competition. I think that's where we're moving, is collaboration, right? And then using courage to communicate more clearly, and using courage to get out of the comparison trap. So I feel like all these things are really beautifully connected, and it's interesting that there's sort of 5 words that came up, and we chose the 5 of wands, and so I'm just going to roll with that. I love thinking in these ways, in symbols and deeper meanings and all this shit. So come on with me. We're talking about courage is the overall theme, and for today I want to link it to this idea of competition. So competition, I think sometimes we believe that it's real or a have to. We often feel like we have to compete. And I want to just challenge that first of all. I think that it is a predominant like narrative, especially if you're raised in the West, but I think it's sort of like taking over worldwide. It's insidious for sure. And so first of all, I would just challenge you to like notice areas in your life where you feel like you, have to be competitive. And I'm not talking about like healthy competition where it's sports or bettering yourself, or you're with a friend and you're like challenging each other to finish a thing at a certain time, or race each other even to make it like an accountability thing or to make it more fun. This is that unhealthy sort of competition where it feels like efforting and striving, and it's very much tied to worth. So we think we're kind of taught to believe that I have to be in competition, first of all, like I don't have a choice, I'm just here competing, and it sucks. Often if we're stressing about it, we feel like some people I think thrive off of this feeling because they feel like they're at the top, like I'm winning the competition, right? But for those of us who like, I think the more natural state is collaboration. And for those of us who just feel like we've been thrust into this competitive arena and we never signed up for it, and that's not who we are, and that's not what we're about, it can feel really painful. And then often we feel like we're losing or we're struggling, or it creates this illusion of like we're behind somehow. So that kind of competition, I believe, just sort of sets us up to feel bad about ourselves, to feel less than, and to feel like we're behind somewhere. So I want to tie this to courage because I think it takes courage to challenge that notion in the first place, to like kind of put the brakes on your life or on your thoughts, or you're check in with yourself and be like, wait a second, am I behaving as if I have no choice? Right there, this is where I get a lot of pushback from a lot of clients too, where we get so set in our thinking where we think it's these facts and we forget that we always have choice. One of my favorite mentors, Brooke Castillo, she kind of blew my mind when she talked about this idea of always having choice. And she kind of came to it when she's a mother, and at the time her children were small, and she was just feeling really stressed out and burned out. And she acknowledged that it was a choice to raise the children. Like, we often think like, I don't even have a choice, but she was choosing it. Like, she would never abandon her children or hurt them or just leave them at the park, but it was helpful to just realize that she did indeed have the choice. Like, there are parents who don't care about their children. There are parents who choose to leave them at parks. There are parents who choose to let someone else raise them or just do a shitty job of raising their own children. So even in things that we think are like unquestionable, like of course if you had children you love them and raise them, right? That might be an example of that. Even just being willing to acknowledge like I have a choice. So this comes up with jobs too. Like, we get in this competitive mindset and we're in this job and we forget that we even have a choice to be there, let alone how we perceive it. So first of all, I think just remembering that you have choice and claiming your courage to own that. I think it might sound silly to say that it's kind of scary to push back against this stuff, but this is like the shit that we were taught from the time we were born, and when we're raised in a culture and we're raised in a society and we're conditioned how to like exist and belong in that society. When we start questioning that and when we start challenging it and we feel like we even want to go so far as to like extricate ourselves from it, intellectually we know that we're not going to die from doing this. Like, we can even look around today especially and see lots of people breaking the mold and doing their own thing and going their own way with little to no repercussions, or at least they're surviving them if they are, right? Like, if people disagree with them or it's against the norm, whatever, they're doing good and they're thriving. But for us, it still can trigger this like primal fear of rejection, and our brain thinks that we're in danger, like we're going to die if we challenge these beliefs, if we step out of the rat race, if we stop participating in a competitive mindset. Like, we can check out of that even just with our attitude. Like, if you don't want to be part of a competitive environment, you don't even have to quit your job or leave the family or whatever it is that you're feeling like you're in a competition. it can be so much just about like acknowledging that you have a choice, having the courage to think a different way, and then just participating in it differently from a different mindset. Your whole energy changes, and then it's just a whole different scene, and you didn't have to change your circumstance at all. So, yeah, I just want to challenge you to notice if you feel like you're in competition with someone or something. It could also be like a version of yourself. Like you could just feel like you're setting these arbitrary places like I should be this far by now. I was notorious for that as someone who spent my whole life in depression and addiction. I didn't get sober until I was 32. And so I've struggled with this idea of like I should be farther along. I should know how to do this. I should have done that. Like that's kind of a version of competition. Like that'll actually come later. That's more about comparison, but there's still this idea of like I'm in this turmoil within myself, and how do I pull away from it? How do I start over? How do I look at this in a different way? And I think this fits nicely with our theme of courage, because all change, real transformation takes so much courage. May I remind you that courage exists because of fear. It's not like you have to wait till the fear goes away. That's not going to happen. You don't have to like be okay with fear. It's just about, Lisa Nichols talks about it really well. If you don't know her, please look her up. Lisa Nichols, she's a badass motivational speaker. I love her. She talks about you grab your fear in one hand and you grab your courage in the other and you go do the fucking thing. And that's what I want to challenge you to do. And especially use your courage, tap into that part of you that is courageous, face the fear and do the thing anyways, to extricate yourself from competition and challenge those ideas that competition is even necessary or part of what you need to do to get ahead in this world. And next week, I'm going to talk about the antidote to competition, what we could do instead, which I believe would transform our whole world if more people were in the collaborative mindset rather than the competitive mindset. We would see so much more peace and harmony and innovation and evolution and just raising of the collective consciousness. So look at the ways that you feel competitive. Use your courage to challenge that and step away from it, change your mind around it, and then join me next week, next Saturday. Should be actually on Saturday next week. And I will talk about using courage to step more fully into collaboration. It's a magical land. And it'll be fun to talk about because I used to hate being collaborative. And I'll tell you why. There was fear and shame underneath. Spoiler. Collaboration is actually really good and awesome. And I've taught myself to embrace it. So tell me how it goes. Have a great weekend. And thank you so much for watching. And if you want to work with me or know more about what I'm up to in the Kick-Ass with Both Feet world, please send me a note, amandagoldmakesart@gmail.com. You're amazing. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.